There are ways of speaking that are ordinary, and then there are ways that stir the heart, capture the mind, and linger long after the conversation ends. The difference isn't in the words themselves, but in the rhythm, the pauses, the tone, and the unspoken meaning that wraps around them. When you learn to shape your words like velvet and release them with quiet certainty, you unlock a force that no logic can resist. This isn't about saying more. It's about saying less, but saying it with power. The power of pause is often underestimated, yet it holds more influence than any perfectly chosen sentence. When words flow too quickly, they lose their weight, slipping past without leaving a mark. But when silence interrupts, it changes everything. It draws attention in a way no loud declaration ever could. Imagine speaking softly, saying just enough to spark interest, and then stopping, letting the air carry your silence like a secret that's almost too delicate to reveal. That pause becomes the moment where curiosity ignites, where the mind begins to lean forward, desperate to fill in the spaces you've intentionally left blank. It's not about being loud or overly expressive. It's about making each word so valuable that the absence of sound becomes louder than the sound itself. There is a rhythm in conversation, a natural melody that either invites closeness or pushes it away. Most people rush through their thoughts, afraid of silence, afraid of the stillness between sentences. But the truth is, stillness is where attraction grows. That half second of quiet, right after something meaningful has been said, lingers in the mind like perfume that refuses to fade. It makes every listener feel as if the words were meant just for them, as if they were chosen carefully, intentionally, not scattered carelessly into the air. That deliberate control makes everything you say feel rare, and rarity is irresistible. When you speak with pauses, you're not only creating intrigue, you're also displaying quiet confidence. It takes assurance to sit comfortably in silence without rushing to fill it. That confidence radiates a calm strength, one that doesn't need validation, one that isn't afraid of being fully seen. And in that calm strength lies the attraction. It says without words, I know my worth. I don't need to over-explain. I don't need to chase your attention because I already have it. The pause proves it. Think of it like this: every pause is an open door. It invites imagination. It allows the mind to wander where it wants, and often those wandering thoughts land exactly where you hoped they would. It's not manipulation, it's magnetism. By saying less, you allow the listener to invest more, to project meaning, to crave the continuation of your voice. This is why some conversations linger in memory long after they're over. It wasn't the sentences alone, it was the rhythm, the tension, the unsaid words hanging in the air. Silence, when used with intention, is not empty. It's charged. It carries mystery, allure, and power. It leaves the listener questioning what comes next. Will more be revealed? Or is the silence itself the answer? That suspense is addictive. It's the pause that turns ordinary words into unforgettable ones, the pause that transforms simple conversation into something that feels electric. And once that effect is felt, it's impossible not to crave it again. A soft yet certain tone carries more weight than most people realize. It's not just about what is said, but the way it's delivered that makes the difference between being heard and being remembered. When your voice is gentle, calm, and steady, it creates an atmosphere of safety, an unspoken message that says, you can relax here. At the same time, when that softness is anchored with certainty, it carries authority without aggression. This blend is magnetic. It soothes while it commands attention. It tells the listener that you're in control, not by force, but by presence. The strength is in the calmness, in the quiet conviction that doesn't need to shout to be taken seriously. People are naturally drawn to contrast. A voice that is soft captures the ear because it doesn't compete with noise. It cuts through chaos by being different. And when that softness is wrapped in certainty, it becomes undeniable. Think about the way a whispered truth often feels more powerful than a loud declaration. The whisper demands closeness, it creates intimacy, and it shows confidence because you don't need to raise your voice to make your point. That certainty transforms vulnerability into strength. It makes the words sound like they come from a place of unshakable knowing, even if they're spoken lightly. When you speak in this way, the tone itself becomes the message. The listener begins to feel something deeper than just understanding. They feel pulled into the energy of your voice. Every syllable becomes smoother, more memorable, more alive. The softness invites the heart, while the certainty secures the mind. Together, they form a rhythm that no one can ignore. It's the kind of tone that doesn't just communicate words, it communicates who you are, and who you are in that moment feels magnetic. There's also something disarming about a calm yet confident voice. In a world where people are often quick, rushed, and defensive, your steady tone feels like an anchor. It slows the moment down, it creates a shift in energy, and it makes the other person lean into your presence rather than pull away. Certainty makes them trust what you say, but softness makes them want to stay in it. The two together form a balance that's rare, strong without being intimidating, gentle without being weak. This tone can turn even the simplest words into something unforgettable. It's not always about saying something profound. Sometimes it's the ordinary that becomes extraordinary when spoken with this kind of power. A simple "I see" or "I understand" can carry the weight of 100 sentences if the voice that carries it is calm, steady, and sure. The listener won't just hear it, they'll feel it. And what people feel, they remember. Mastering this tone means you no longer rely only on what you say to make an impression. Your presence speaks for you. Your voice becomes the instrument that creates connection, attraction, and intrigue without you needing to push or force anything. Softness pulls the heart closer, certainty holds it there. Together, they create an effect that lingers long after the conversation ends. Suggestive phrasing is an art that makes conversation feel like more than just the exchange of words. It becomes an experience. Instead of finishing every thought neatly, you leave it open, slightly incomplete, as if there's more hidden beneath the surface. This is where intrigue begins. A statement that trails off or a sentence that hints rather than declares invites the listener's imagination to step in. And imagination is far more powerful than anything spoken outright, because once the mind begins to wander, it creates its own meaning, and that meaning becomes unforgettable. The secret is not to give everything away, but to let curiosity do the work for you. When you choose to phrase things suggestively, you're not being unclear, you're being intentional, you're guiding without forcing, leading without revealing all at once. For example, instead of bluntly stating how you feel, you can let your words hint at something deeper, letting the silence or the unspoken layers fill in the rest. That hint becomes a spark, a whisper of mystery that lingers long after the conversation is over. It creates a sense of depth, the feeling that there's always more to discover, more to uncover, more to be revealed if one stays close enough. This way of speaking doesn't rely on exaggeration or drama. In fact, it thrives in simplicity. It might be the way you choose a word that carries multiple meanings, or the way you deliver a phrase with just enough weight to make the listener wonder if there's more behind it. It's playful, but it's also magnetic because it draws someone into the story you're weaving without them even realizing it. They lean in, trying to catch the hidden meaning, trying to unlock the next layer. That chase is where fascination lives. Suggestive phrasing also works because it taps into desire. Desire is never about what is fully given, it's about what is anticipated. When you phrase your words in a way that leaves something unsaid, you allow desire to build naturally. It's the same principle that makes a cliffhanger so irresistible. You can't walk away without knowing what happens next. A conversation layered with suggestion feels like that, a never-ending chapter that keeps pulling the mind back in, hungry for the continuation. What makes this especially powerful is that it also reveals your confidence. You're not rushing to explain or over-clarify. You're comfortable letting your words hang in the air, trusting that their weight will be felt. You're not desperate to be understood instantly because you know that part of your allure is the mystery itself. That quiet confidence is attractive on its own, but when paired with the suggestive way of speaking, it becomes captivating. The beauty of suggestive phrasing is that it transforms conversation from predictable into unforgettable. It makes even casual exchanges feel alive with possibility. Every sentence carries a double edge, the literal meaning and the hidden meaning. And once someone experiences that, they'll never settle for ordinary talk again. They'll crave the way your words feel like doors that are slightly open, tempting them to step inside. That craving is what keeps you unforgettable. Unexpected compliments carry a different kind of magic. Ordinary praise is predictable. It's easy to say someone looks nice or that they're good at something everyone can already see. Those words may be kind, but they don't stay in the mind for long. The real power lies in noticing what others overlook, in finding the details no one else takes the time to acknowledge. When you give voice to those hidden qualities, it feels personal, rare, and unforgettable. It isn't just a compliment, it's proof that you're paying attention, that you see something deeper than the surface. That kind of recognition creates an impact that lingers. There is a certain electricity in being truly seen. Most people move through the world unnoticed, their unique traits fading into the background because no one pauses long enough to point them out. But when you notice the small things, the way someone expresses themselves, the quiet effort they put into something, or the little quirks that make them different, you turn the ordinary into extraordinary. That compliment doesn't just lift the moment, it anchors in memory. It becomes something replayed in the mind over and over because it's rare to feel understood in such a precise way. Unexpected compliments also carry the element of surprise. They arrive when least expected, and that timing makes them powerful. Instead of being delivered in the usual places, after an achievement, after someone dresses up, or after something obvious, they arrive in the unnoticed moments, complementing the subtlety of a thought, the glow of patience in a situation, or the unique rhythm of someone's presence creates an entirely different response. It disarms defenses and softens the atmosphere because it feels real, not rehearsed. The surprise itself makes it believable. There is also a quiet intimacy in this practice. Compliments that go beyond the surface don't just flatter, they connect. They say, "I see you in a way others don't." That message awakens curiosity and emotion at the same time. It feels like being singled out in the best possible way, like someone has paused the world just long enough to notice what usually goes unseen. That experience creates warmth, and warmth draws people in closer. What makes these compliments even more powerful is that they're not overused. They can't be recycled because they're specific. They belong only to the person receiving them. That exclusivity makes them treasured because it feels as though no one else could have said it in the same way. Words like that don't dissolve into the noise of everyday life. They shine, and once spoken, they can't easily be forgotten. An unexpected compliment is not just about kindness, it's about creating a spark of recognition. It turns a simple conversation into something memorable, something that feels alive long after it ends. And in that spark lies the beginning of deeper connection. When words reveal what the eyes of others have missed, they don't just touch the ear, they touch the soul. That's why unexpected compliments are not just nice gestures, they are invitations into something far more meaningful. An emotional mirror is not about repeating words, it's about reflecting feelings so deeply that the other person feels instantly understood. Most people listen to respond, waiting for their turn to speak, but true connection happens when you listen to feel, when you reflect back the emotions you sense. Not just the surface ones, but the subtle shifts underneath. It creates a bond that feels almost unexplainable. It's like holding up a mirror to someone's inner world and showing them that their feelings are valid, that they are seen, that their emotions matter. This reflection goes beyond logic and sinks into the heart, because being understood on that level is rare. When someone speaks, they're not only communicating facts, they're revealing fragments of their inner state. Maybe it's the way their voice softens when they talk about something meaningful, or the way they speed up when something excites them. By noticing these little cues and letting your words gently reflect them back, you create harmony. Saying something as simple as, "I can feel how much that meant to you," or "that must have taken so much strength," is more powerful than any clever response. It tells them you're not just hearing, you're feeling alongside them. That shared space is where attraction and trust grow effortlessly. The power of emotional mirroring lies in its ability to dissolve distance. When someone feels mirrored, they drop their guard. They no longer feel the need to explain every detail or defend themselves because they sense you already understand. This is why conversations with emotional mirroring feel deeper than the rest. They're not about trading information, they're about exchanging energy. The listener feels lighter, more open, more willing to reveal the layers they usually keep hidden. And every time that happens, a deeper connection is built. Mirroring also has the ability to transform ordinary words into healing ones. When you give voice to feelings that someone hasn't yet articulated, it feels like a release. It can calm frustration, soothe the anxiety, or amplify joy simply because someone else is carrying part of the weight with them. That's why people are drawn to those who mirror well. It feels safe, grounding, even addictive. The desire to return to that presence becomes natural because it's rare to find someone who makes you feel both understood and accepted without judgment. But emotional mirroring doesn't mean imitation. It's not about copying expressions or forcing empathy. It's about attunement. It's about staying present enough to sense the rhythm of someone's emotions and adjusting your words, your tone, your pauses to match it. When they're excited, you rise with them. When they're vulnerable, you soften. This subtle alignment creates a flow that feels effortless, like a dance where no one has to lead because both are moving in sync. The effect is profound. The person who feels mirrored begins to associate your presence with comfort, with safety, with connection that feels rare in a noisy world. They'll remember how they felt with you long after the conversation ends. And in the end, it won't be the specific words that mattered most. It will be the feeling of being deeply understood, of looking into a mirror that didn't just reflect their face, but reflected their soul. Playful mystery is the element that keeps conversation alive long after the words have been spoken. It is the art of giving just enough to spark curiosity while holding back enough to keep the imagination restless. When every sentence explains too much, the magic fades. But when your words carry a hint of teasing, a little veil of the unknown, they create an irresistible pull. This is not about being distant or secretive. It is about weaving lightness with intrigue, so that the listener is constantly left wondering what might come next. That wondering is what fuels desire because the mind loves puzzles and the heart loves the chase. Mystery by itself can feel cold, but when blended with playfulness, it becomes warm, inviting, and fun. It turns ordinary talk into something that feels like a game, a dance of words that never quite reveal everything yet never feel frustrating. You might answer a question with a smile and a half-finished thought, or share a story that leaves space for curiosity to bloom. The power is not in giving the whole picture, but in painting it slowly, one brushstroke at a time, letting anticipation build with every pause. That playfulness softens the mystery, making it sweet instead of heavy, exciting instead of distant. This style of communication also sparks imagination. When you don't explain everything, the other person begins to fill in the blanks themselves. They lean closer, listen harder, replay your words after the conversation ends, trying to uncover the hidden meaning. And the more they think about it, the deeper their fascination grows. What you've done is plant seeds of thought, seeds that grow in silence, making your presence linger long after you've gone. That lingering effect is what keeps someone coming back. It's not just the memory of what you said, but the curiosity about what you might say next. Playful mystery also reveals confidence. It shows that you don't feel the need to prove yourself, that you're comfortable leaving things unsaid, trusting that your presence is enough. That quiet self-assurance is magnetic. It suggests depth, a richness that can't be fully grasped at once. And depth is always attractive because it promises that there's more to discover, more to uncover, more to explore. At the same time, the playfulness keeps it light. It's in the subtleties, the gentle joke, the way you let your words dance rather than land too heavily. That combination keeps the energy alive. It doesn't suffocate. It inspires. It turns conversation into a spark that refuses to die out. And because of that, the memory of it doesn't fade. It stays glowing quietly, urging the listener to return to you for more. The essence of playful mystery is this: never give everything away, and never do it without a smile in your voice. Leave doors half open, trails half lit, enough for the imagination to wander, but never enough to reach the end. That endless unfolding is what makes you unforgettable, because mystery mixed with playfulness doesn't just capture attention. It keeps it. Every word you choose, every pause you allow, every tone you embody, and every hint of mystery you weave becomes part of the story you leave behind. It is never about saying the most, but about saying it in a way that lingers, soft enough to draw in, certain enough to be remembered, playful enough to spark curiosity, and deep enough to touch the heart. When conversation feels this alive, it stops being ordinary. It becomes an experience that is impossible to forget. And once someone has felt that experience with you, no other words will ever sound the same.